TCT presents Public Report, a look at the issues and events of importance to our viewing area. Now, here is your host.
Hi, I'm Dr. Latasha Petman, and today's topic is community. And I have Orma Smith here with me today, who is going to share her consulting company, and you will be excited to hear what she does in our community. Hi, Orma. I am so glad you are here with us today.
Thank you for having me today.
So tell me a little bit what you're doing in the community with your consulting company.
Okay. Orma Smith Consulting does consulting in two different areas. One is college placement and one is mental health counseling. I've combining my background in school, education, and mental health to provide services for the community. So what we do with the school portion is we do college prep counseling for families, for parents and students on college placement, on navigating the college admissions process, financial aid, scholarships in that vein. I also do professional development for school counselors and college placement staff, helping them to become the best that they can be in the area for their students. In addition to that, I work with businesses and community groups to help them understand what is their role to help students meet their goal for that next step and that next phase in their life.
Wow.
The second arm of it has to do with mental health counseling.
Okay.
So I do work as a therapist at Pathways to Counseling Center, and what I do in the area is I have a variety of clients, a variety of age groups who come in with mental health disorders that brought across the spectrum, and we work with them and help them reach their goals.
Wow, you are a busy woman.
Yes,
making a difference in our community, and that's what it's all about. And one of the things I really like what you were talking about was as far as getting the kids prepared for school.
Yes.
So
yeah.
College prep, and you know, we as parents, especially with the internet, we can go on the internet, but we come out more confused.
Right.
So people like yourself can help along with the parent and the student.
Right.
So what's some of the challenges you see when we talk about preparing our children for college?
One of the biggest things is exposure. Especially if the child is first generation, which means they are the first one to either graduate high school or to graduate and go to college. They don't have the information that they need to get to that next step. There's, like you say, lots of resources out there. You have to know where to go, and once you find it, how do I manage it? What do I do with all this information? For the most part, if a parent is engaged in the process, it helps the student to move forward.
Right.
But that's the other side of the challenge, is how much engagement does the parent have in helping that student go to that next step. They may not quite understand, why are you trying to do this? So we try to educate the family. That's why it's important that the family is involved in that process.
That's great. I could have used your consulting company a couple years ago. So actually my daughter, she's a senior this year.
Oh,
and
awesome.
the same thing, getting prepared for college, you know, she would come with I want to go to this college, and, you know, went on a couple college, what do you call them? The
college tours.
Tours. And she came back with more stuff, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what, you know better than I. Just like I said, you go to the computer and like, okay, what does that actually mean?
Right.
All I know, I need to pay some money.
And there you go. And there you go.
So when we talk about the preparation, we know that our children have some issues before they even enter into college.
Right.
They have issues while they're at college. And one of the experiences my daughter had, it was her first time being away from me, and she was going through a depression. So she came to me and she was crying, I want to come home, college not for me, and you know, and I'm like, okay, what are we going to do about this?
Right.
So in that area, do you guys kind of help them actually be prepared? Because I don't think she was really prepared when thank God she didn't go far away, because probably would have been on the plane.
Right. One thing about school counseling programs, if it's a comprehensive counseling program, they not only address the academic and personal, but they address the social needs of the young people as well. So even though it's in the school environment, you spend a lot of time, you see them for a few minutes between classes or maybe a scheduled appointment. Those needs can be addressed, but for something a little more serious that goes sort of beyond the let me check in and help you resolve this minor conflict, students do need to be referred out to a professional who can spend the time with them to help them to develop a little more peace within themselves and how to manage their emotions and mental health.
Because the only thing they really had for parents like myself was the parent orientation. You go and you spend the day, and then they tell you you can't. Your child is basically grown, so they don't have to tell you when they went to the doctor. So the parent needs the consultant just to be able to get through
just to manage that, especially that
like,
first
did
year.
You just tell me I can't check on my kid and the doctor. She went to the doctor. So that's the preparation when you're consulting them. So when the school preparation is just an overall mental, physical, financial.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes we think of college preparation and that's what we think of.
Right.
I did the application, I got in, I applied for the scholarship, but there is that social aspect. There may be some culture shock.
Yes.
Some of these young people have never been away from home, not more than a couple of days, and not more beyond family. When you get into an environment where there are people who don't look like you, they eat different foods, they dress differently, the music is different, and you have to learn how to navigate and interact with people in that environment in order to be successful. You can be a straight A student, but if you're not able to, if you don't have that social capacity, it is challenging, and it can make you want to run to come home, but it's possible to make
She wasn't even there 3 weeks, and I was like, are you serious? I said, you haven't even met anybody on campus.
Right.
I said, Lord, thank you that she's not far away.
Exactly.
One of the things we also are seeing with our young people when you're talking about mental health, there's those mental health issues, and we know drugs play an important part, but there's issues when we talk about mental health that that's just never been addressed.
Right.
So you were telling me a little bit how you work and you do the therapy part. So how do you actually get a young person, I mean, it's already hard to get an adult to really express themselves, a young person to express what they're going through?
Therapy is about relationship. It's very important that that individual that's sitting across from you feels like they can trust you. We talk about the fact that it is confidential, and that's important. It's important for them to know and understand that what you say in this space and in this room stays here, because it's not my desire to go spread your business. It's my desire to help you. The other thing is it's non-judgmental. You know, I tell my clients all the time, don't censor yourself. When you come into this space, feel free to be you. Let it hang out. You put on a mask in other areas of your life. You know, you have to make it through the day, make it through school, make it with family. But when you come in this space, be open. With young people, it's important that you make a connection with who they are and what they like, and you know, don't fall into the temptation of parenting and advice giving. That's not my role. I am a parent, but I'm not their parent. My role with them is to be an ally, to help them reach a level of mental health that gives them peace in their life.
I think when we, and I'm so glad when you talked about the school preparation, because it's a key point.
Yes.
And we can go back to what just happened recently with the young man in the Ohio shooting. You know, there's signs and there's times, and we know with social media, and I just think when social media and a person is expressing themselves, how they feel, and you would think as many people hitting like and dislike, that person can get some help, but it don't seem as easy to get the help as. So what are some of the barriers that we're running into?
The thing about social media is that it's almost a false reality, right? You present an image of who you are. You're sort of trying to get attention or get an understanding or even just connect with people on that level. But when you're in distress and you're using social media as an outlet, you run the risk that the person who's receiving that, one, may not have the capacity to give you the help that you need. Two, may not take it seriously. They may not really believe or understand he's not really serious. He's just trying to get some attention. So when you do that and you're not allowing yourself to seek the professional help that you need, you run that risk that the cries go unheard, as people say. You asked about barriers. Barriers to seeking mental health is the stigma. People still continue to stigmatize someone who goes to see a therapist or a psychiatrist. They must be weak, or they must be dangerous, or something's wrong with them.
Don't forget the word crazy.
Exactly, and you know what? And I've tried to censor that from my vocabulary.
Really,
I'm very
sensitive to what people call it.
That's exactly what they do. You're crazy. No, you're not. There are some people who have stress in their life.
Don't know how to handle it.
And they don't know how to handle it. And stress, as we've talked, stress can kill if it's not managed appropriately.
If not kill, destroy others along with yourself.
Relationships, exactly.
When you were sharing with the college prep part, so that way you get to really get to know that person. Are they really ready for college? And sometimes people put the stigma too as, oh, they're in college, they're doing good, they got a scholarship, so there's nothing wrong with them because they're in college. And that's probably what that mother thought about her son, you know, who was a freshman in college. He had it all together. But still there's some telltale signs somewhere. Even if it's the instructor or, you know, I just can't see. You know, I know everybody busy handling their own business and things, but sometimes you just have to take out the time to even notice if something is wrong.
That's it.
And do you think more instructors, teachers need to be more educated in mental health? Because, you know.
That's an excellent point, actually,
Yeah.
because when you think about it, as I mentioned earlier, the other person receiving it may not have the capacity, but if there is more awareness of what are the signs of someone who may be dealing with depression, who may be suicidal, what are the signs of someone who is shifting from their norm or from what they normally are, if you're able to identify that, not to make that person accountable for that person in their care, but to just maybe walk up to them and say, hey, you need a little help? Are you okay?
Right.
But the flip side of that coin is we need to know when to ask for help.
Exactly.
That's the other side of it. Sometimes we carry a burden, we carry a load, we hold on to things, and we don't feel like other people either care, they don't want to hear it, or they're not going to be able to help me.
Exactly. I think, too, when we think about mental health, and I think we're seeing that is happening more and more in younger people. So what is one of your youngest clients? What's the age range?
Well, my youngest client is actually 9, but we do have people at the clinic as young as 4.
Wow.
For a variety of issues and concerns. And at that age, you work with the family, obviously, because that young person is not at the point developmentally where they're able to really verbalize what's going on. But the parents notice something's a little different.
Right.
Let me get my child some help.
And that's the thing, I'm saying, wow, but on the flip side, great.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you can get them the help that they need now,
Yes.
because we have a lot of adults, seniors, you know, I'm in the healthcare field as well, and a lot of my patients, senior patients, is running into mental health issues.
That they've been dealing with
Serious.
for decades.
Decades, and never been dealt with.
Never been dealt
And
with.
then as they're getting older, you look back over your life and what have I accomplished, and basically I'm more depressed than I was when I'm younger. These are supposed to be my golden years, and I see no hope.
Right.
So how do you handle a situation when when I talk about seniors, I'm talking about people 75, 80, 85. They're not talking about they diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. They're just struggling mentally.
Right. One of the things that you focus on with people, so when you're dealing with young people, you're sort of focusing on, you know, what are you like, what's your interest, what are your goals. It's not that different with someone who's older.
Yes.
You know, one of the things when people get to a certain age, they look back and they reflect on their life, and you know, we think about the golden years and the good old days and things when they were going well. But sometimes things didn't go that well in life. And so what has to happen in therapy is you dig into and you deal with the stuff that didn't go right and help them resolve that. Sometimes stress and distress, emotional distress, comes from unresolved issues that we've had, something that's happened that we've witnessed or that we've even done ourselves that we haven't reconciled. How do I manage this? What's the story that was told in my life, and how can I frame that story in a space where I feel okay about it?
And when you talk about that, we can go back to the other problems when you don't deal with the issue, the high blood pressure, the diabetes, the other physical ailments that comes along with not dealing with the mental part.
Right. I take a biopsychosocial spiritual perspective when it comes to mental health, okay? And you're speaking right into it. Biologically, it deals with how am I sleeping, how am I eating, what's going on in my body, do I have high blood pressure, do I get frequent headaches? Psychologically, it has to do with my thinking patterns, my emotions, and my behavior. Socially, is so important. My relationships. How am I interacting with other people? Where am I? Am I in prison? Am I in school? More research is showing that young people who grow up in abject poverty have some mental health stresses based on just being in that poverty situation. We talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. The first thing we think about is military war veterans, right? The first thing to think about maybe that person who witnessed a trauma. But these young people who are growing up in the situation, seeing the violence, watching things happen, people dying in their lives, that creates distress for them, and it needs to be attended to. So it's the biological, psychological, social, and then there's the spiritual aspect. We are all spiritual beings to some degree, and so we need to understand that all those things work together.
Spirit, soul, and body.
Yep.
And we think about our head. That's what lines everything up in our body.
That's it.
And I think even as individual, even if you don't think that you have a mental health issues, there's times where you do get depressed. There's times where you feel like everything is caving in. You still need to talk about it.
That's
you know, I would say I would have a friend, a family member, because sometimes there are people that's just, you know, we call them more so they're all to their self, and they don't express their emotions, but it comes out of anger. And we can go all the way back to people being bullied when they're kids, and kids is being bullied now. So are some of those clients and family members that you meet it just amazes me how that is actually at the forefront.
It's at the forefront. Bullying is very, very common, unfortunately, and it's and I'll say this. I mean, it's not new, but it's changed. It's shifted. You know, again,
with the social media.
Again, social media and the internet. Everything is so public, and everything is so out in the open, and you see things now that you never would have seen before. And these young people, some of them to the point of being suicidal.
That's what the bullying take you.
Are hurting in that degree, but the flip side of the coin, the person being bullied is hurting, but that bully is also hurting. That's that behavior you're talking about, that acting out. Instead of me talking to someone and getting help with the anger, it's coming out in a different way, and it's coming out in an unhealthy way. That's why it's important for us to take care of our mental health.
And I really didn't really understand mental health until I actually personally had to deal with it with my patients. Because I'm like, okay, you're good here, but still, why are you so stressed out, and why you can't get over this? And that make you sit and think and wonder in how to reach out to a person. And not just that, I even found out we do outreach on the east side, and so we're working with people who's on the streets and things, and to try to understand why they choose the streets instead of getting the help. And then there's different situations. There's a lot that's on drugs, and there's some that's not even on drugs. It's just they have chosen this is what they see life is for them. They don't see no other way. So they have come to be content with that.
Wow.
So, that's something.
You making that statement actually strikes a nerve with me, because I find myself sometimes driving around different neighborhoods and looking at people and saying, there's something on the inside of you that this world needs, and you don't know it.
Wow.
There's something, and that's sort of how I operate when I work with people. There's something in everyone. Everyone has a destiny. Everyone has something in them. They were a purpose for which they were put on this earth, and when you're not aware of that, that's another thing that causes you distress. That the whole "why am I here?" It seems like a cliche question, but actually people live that every day. What is my purpose? If you don't have a purpose, if you're aimless, with the idle hands of the devil's workshop, right? Isn't that a saying that we say? Just think about it. Just think about it. If you're not focused on something, feeling like you have a purpose, then sometimes you can go astray. And unfortunately, in the case of the people you're talking about, it impacts them socially, because now they're not able to maintain a job, and they're disconnected from family, and they're in the streets.
And it's a lot of young people just walking up and down the street, and something is wrong. You can sense it almost, like, because every corner you see somebody walking. It's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'm not out there, but because I'm like, it's a lot going on. But you still know you can only do so much as a therapist, as a mother, as a friend. You can, but the main key, what I learned is you still need to let the person know that I'm here whenever you want to talk. Somebody's here for you. And then, as a therapist, and working with the schools and businesses, churches, so how do you more so get others involved as far as with the mental health? We know that we had a big change when they closed the mental health places, and it just seemed like everything just went downhill from there. I mean, do you think they have ever, there's not many places, most of them are in group homes in those kinds of situations, so there's still not a lot of one-on-one getting the help.
It's there. The help is out there. The question is people having the desire to access it, and then having the resources to access it. There are some places that are free or low cost. We have some that are sliding scale. The Affordable Care Act has made it helpful for some people to obtain health insurance to go in that vein, but then you have that group who doesn't qualify for that, and it becomes more difficult. But as far as getting people involved, it's about communicating. It's about getting the message out there. It's about doing the outreach, getting in the community, and also doing shows like this where we understand that stigma doesn't need to be there. You know, some people come to therapy just so that they can have better organization skills, or they're having relationship problems, or the opposite spectrum, they could be suicidal. But whatever it is in your life that's out of alignment, that's causing you to stress, go to someone who can help you and get on a better road.
It is a great need. So if someone wanted to get in contact with you and your organization, tell us phone number, email address that you want to share.
So the organization is called Orma Smith Consulting. Email ormasmithconsulting@gmail.com. Phone number is 313-241-0459. And actually, if you like the Facebook page, Orma Smith Consulting, you can also send comments and messages, and I'll respond to those as well. Also get some inspirational, some articles, some quotes, some things to kind of help you begin to learn and develop skills about how to live this life in abundance.
Just being inspired and begin to encourage one, because we know every day we don't wake up and it's like, oh, you know, everything is good and everything. We have days.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes we question ourselves. Okay, what's wrong with me today? And when we come to that state where we know that there's someone to talk to, there's someone that, you know, we can reach out, but it's a point where they have to reach out to you as well. So how do you handle, we'll just say you know somebody that basically is struggling. You know, they need the help, but they don't know how to receive the help.
So you mean as far as individuals, if you know someone in your family, or the best thing to do, for one, as you say, to let them know you're there for them, to be a listening ear. But then if it gets to the point where you realize it needs to be beyond them just talking to you, just politely suggest, you know, have you considered talking to someone? Have you considered talking to someone who may be able to help you a little more than I could? It seems like something's going on with you where you need some different types of interventions. Just have the conversation. That's the piece that's missing within our community, is that sometimes we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge that something is not the way that it should be, and to feel comfortable to say to you, I'd rather you offend me or hurt my feelings and help me get help than you just placate me and I'm suffering. You know, and we really have to move beyond that.
And we know people get diagnosed with different diseases and things, and that can take you on a whole nother path. Dealing with a lot of my patients, they might just get diagnosed with something, and then they actually go off into a depression and they don't see no way out. So when you letting a person know that you're there for them and you're encouraging them, and then that's that part, do you you can't force it. So how do you actually handle it when it's the time you need to step back?
As a therapist?
As a therapist, as a family member, or anyone that they know that's somebody. Because we know people use, a lot of people, drugs and alcohol to suppress whatever they're going through. So like me, myself, I was a person that I know that's pretty much intoxicated at that point. Sometimes they're not really trying to hear you. So you pull back a little bit and try to catch them at a better time.
There you go. Made a good point there. Don't try to convince someone who's in the midst of their distress that they need help, because they can't hear it.
So is there any other suggestions that you can give to someone that's actually has someone in their family that's at the edge?
Sometimes it may be helpful for you to find a place for them to go and give them the information. Say, I found this organization. I think they may be able to help you. Why don't you give them a call? And be persistent. You give them the card today. By Friday, did you make the call? How are you doing today? Are you having a good day today? Things are going well. Have you thought about what we talked about? And be persistent. Now, again, as you mentioned, they may get worn out from it, or they may become frustrated, but you have to remember that person's well-being and maybe their life is on the line. So you really kind of want to push a little bit, to make sure that they understand help is available.
Yeah, because I know the person that's trying to bring them in sometimes get stressed out. And that's when you need help yourself. Okay, I'm dealing with this problem. As you as a therapist, I would come to say, I got this situation, but it's burning me out, it's stressing me out. What do I need to do for myself to be healthy, to even help them to get through what they need to go through?
And you just said something very important. You came in yourself. So as much as we love people in our lives, as much as we want the best for them, if they're not quite ready, then it poses a challenge. Therapy is a process where they need to be engaged in the process. They have to be willing to do the work, to come in, to show up even. So if they're not ready to receive that help, then it won't be as successful. But again, be there for them, give them the information, and let them know that that the help is there.
Yeah, what I like to always share, those successful stories,
Right,
because
right.
they are out there.
Right.
And kind of share a story with me where everybody kind of have when their first experience and when they realize, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
That aha moment.
That aha moment. I'll have to say, being a therapist can be challenging because you are sort of taking in a lot from people, and you don't always know how they're doing outside of when they leave. You don't always know that. But I'll have to say, and just focusing on this week, I've had more than one client say, since I've come to see you, I've been able to.
Right.
Or they say, you're a good therapist. I mean, to really just say that. I think that that's the way of God saying to me, you're doing the right thing, just keep going. Because you don't always know. You don't always know if what's happening in that room is really impacting their life outside, unless they tell you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We need to be encouraged as well, so you have to know how to encourage yourself to keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Because there's people that are crying out, they see no way out, and when people like yourself, and the compassion that you have, and all the person needs to see is that you care.
Yes.
And for your consulting company to really be out there, meeting the community's needs, that's what we need.
Yes.
We need people that say, hey, I'm here for you. No matter what you're going through, I'm here for you.
That's it.
And I think when we come together and unite with the therapist, the doctor, those who spirit for the church, and we unite and we stick together until we can meet that person's need. Because it takes a group, a village,
that's right.
to get somebody what they're going through. And it's not just about raising children, it's about people that needs the help.
Yes.
So when I think about your consulting company, especially when you're dealing with the schools and the young people, the one that's young as 4 years old, we know we got to get them now.
Yeah.
We got to get them the help they need now. We can't wait until something tragic happens, like the young man at Ohio State.
Exactly.
And we know they're younger than that that's committing those type of suicidal things because of the media. And we want to, just thank you for just coming on the show and sharing, what difference you're making. And I know that, there's people out here that want to reach out to you and see how they can, get the help they need or the need for a loved one. And I think when we do shows like this and we bring people on like yourself, that brings the hope. And as we bring the hope, and I just want our viewers to know that there is hope out there. And we thank you for watching another edition of Public Report.
This has been Public Report. Public Report discusses the issues of interest and importance to our viewing area. Please remember that the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of TCT or the station.